I know that you know most of the people up here, but I wanted to make a special note to the young lady on our right, who is Suzanne Dorchester Romero. And we're so privileged to have her here. Unfortunately, she has got to take off.
I got an Uber ride coming in 5 minutes.
Say something to these people.
Well, hello everybody. You know, George was so proud of this film, and he was proud of being a Pittsburgher, and he would have been so happy that all of you, the family, are here together to celebrate this evening, and I'm so glad to have been here as well. So enjoy tonight's movie.
So, I think, well, I have to make it. Do you want to go?
I might have to, because
I mean, it's up to you.
I have an Uber coming.
Who's gonna say no to
So I didn't realize that I was doing this, so I'm so sorry. So anyway, I'm going to escape, but enjoy the movie, guys. Okay?
Cancel the Uber.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
And she'll be around tomorrow.
I will be around.
Yeah, she'll be in Evans City tomorrow. So you're going to get to meet her one-on-one. Now, the next crazy little announcement that I have to make is yours truly forgot the posters that you all were supposed to get tonight. In Evans City.
So if you see them on eBay, you know you're playing.
Now, the point of it is, I'm going to guess how many of you are going to be in Evans City tomorrow. Okay. So bring your ticket stub and come see me, and you'll get your poster. For those of you who aren't coming to Evans City, you probably found out about this through the Living Dead Fest, or you don't care about the poster. Get in touch with me on Facebook. However, I will make sure that a poster gets out to each and every one of you. Okay? I really apologize. My goof. Don't make me any like this. I'm like terrified. But I hear the rumor was that you all thought that we were out of posters. So now at least you know you're going to get your poster. All right. So here we are. A lot of movement, a lot of shifting went on with the Living Dead weekend, knowing that this was the weekend that the film was going to be shown, and Kevin Price and his team were extremely gracious to move their show to accommodate this, but they all understood. So many of you would be coming in from out of town and want to have this pretty unique opportunity. Yeah! So I'm going to just pass the mic down the road here, and you guys have something to say, and then we'll take some questions.
Hi, and I want to thank the staff and everybody that works on this event, because it's so well run and everyone's so nice, and it's a pleasure to be here. I mean, here in Evans City, take part in this event every year. I think I've scarcely missed it, and so thank you very much for that. And of course, we lost George Cassana at the end of 2016, and after he was ill for a long time. But when he was here at his probably his last convention, all of you treated him so well, helping him around with his canes and his other medical problems, and also you spent a lot of money, you know, helping him out by buying his autograph and the stuff at his table, and he was thrilled by it. He was beaming from ear to ear about how much he appreciated all of you last year, which, like I say, a couple months later, he passed away. And what can we say about George Romero? You know, we'll say more tomorrow. I think I'll save that because there is going to be a tribute to George Romero tomorrow.
On Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday is what I meant. I'm sorry. Right. Thanks. At the chapel, so we'll save our remarks for George at that time. Thanks again.
for those of you who don't know, my name is Russ Streiner. My biggest claim to fame is that I'm Gary's brother. And Ma Streiner was not only a ghoul in Night of the Living Dead, it was also her car we were driving at the early part of the film. So Ma Streiner was as much of the production team as any of us. At any rate, we want to thank the Manor Theater, the management of the Manor Theater, and also to a very special group of people at the Museum of Modern Art and Martin Scorsese's Film Foundation and the Bardos Foundation for bringing to all of us this remarkable restoration. It was a journey, an end to a journey for the original camera negative for Night of the Living Dead is now stored in the archives of the Museum of Modern Art along with significant chunks of film history. So we are especially grateful for them, for this restoration. And you know, this is 50 years for Night of the Living Dead, and I'm guessing that it's going to go on for a whole lot longer as well. So, but the real credit for Night of the Living Dead goes to folks like you who have kept it alive for 50 years. We made the best film that we could at the time. It's you all who have made it a classic. So we congratulate you.
Absolutely. You know, it's a funny thing with what this film has come to be. You know, from its initial descriptions of being a little grainy black and white independent film made by a bunch of film students in Pittsburgh, which was of course never true. We were quite professional by the time we made Night of the Living Dead. But you know, that it's reached the peaks that it has, which all of that is saying, yes, this is no longer a grainy little film. It's actually a piece of pop culture history. And the Museum of Modern Art put their stamp on that to say that that is the case. And they wouldn't have done that if it weren't for you people, as Russ said. So we're really happy and really hope that, you know, maybe some of you that weren't planning on coming to Evans City tomorrow and Sunday will, because it's a very special event that happens there. Now, before I give the mic to Richard, how many folks in this audience have never seen Night of the Living Dead before?
0.
One. There's one person.
One.
Would you stand up and take a bow? Who was the one person? All right.
You're in for a treat. What we've been finding, which is really remarkable, is as much as 50%. Now this is a staged audience here. I mean, you know, but that's a great thing that we're going all over the world and to all these screenings, and as much as 50% of the audience is raising their hand to say they had never seen it before. That's remarkable, and really exciting to know that this film goes on. On to the Rev.
Gosh, those were good words from these guys. I would love to add something. I can't think of much, except this is an extraordinary experience for me. I don't think you can imagine how it really strikes me. I was 20 years old when I met George Romero, maybe 19. We were both all college students, and we met, talked for 3 days, never left the coffee shop, and then we got up and started making a movie. It was called Slant, and George never stopped making movies after that. He was just on fire with it, and it just seemed impossible to me that we would ever achieve anything like this. This is wonderful. So I I appreciate being here. You're gonna love this print. You'll know in the first 30 seconds what a leap forward it is. And I can't wait to see it with you. Thank you.
Any questions that this group might not have already asked of this panel?
Yes, sir.
Yell it out.
All right, first off, congratulations on finally getting your trademark onto the film. We've been able to enjoy the film for the last 49 years, but the reality is that Image 10 and you guys representing, you know, the people who are still around, haven't fully been able to, because at the end of the day, you were being robbed. So today, as we get ready to see this with your trademark, how do you guys feel to know that finally you're getting what you should be, what you should have gotten back in '68? Wow.
Well, thank you for that acknowledgement, number one. To say that the journey with Night of the Living Dead has been a smooth ride would be a lie. Through some very, very unfortunate circumstances early on in its distribution life. Under the old copyright laws, if you put a movie or a book or a piece of music out without a copyright on it, you lost it forever. We have been battling with the Copyright Office for all these years, and you can imagine what it's like for some folks from Pittsburgh to be battling with the Copyright Office. It wears you down. But in the end, as you so accurately point out, now, from this time forward, Night of the Living Dead has a proper copyright on it, and it cannot be stolen anymore.
Thanks for your appreciation for all that and your empathy and sympathy for what we've been through. I guess I just want to say that, you know, one thing is that it never was a grainy little film from Pittsburgh. It was shot on 35mm Arriflex, which a huge percentage of Hollywood movies were shot with, and the print really did look a lot like what you want to see. But the distributor pulled prints on a cheap stock. Some of the reels were brown and some of them were out of sync, and then we got criticized and it got called that grainy little film from Pittsburgh. So now you're going to see that it never was that, because this print is made from the original camera negative.
Yeah.
Next question.
I just wanted to say thank you for everything. And this to me, and I think everybody in this room, is more than a film. But how do you guys wake up in the morning and know that you guys are forever a part of the American zeitgeist? Like, you guys have changed indie cinema, you've changed horror cinema, and you've actually changed the culture of America going forward. So thank you for that. But how do you guys carry that on your shoulders?
It's really nice to have diehard fans saying this to us. You know, you don't get this in every audience. I don't know. For me personally, it just makes me proud. It makes me feel like, yeah, the effort that went into it and the dedication that went into it when we made it against all odds paid off. And it didn't. You know, it always paid off to us anyway, despite the restoration and all that sort of stuff. But to finally have it kind of clean and confirmed and safe and all that sort of stuff is it's quite exhilarating, thankfully. You might have something to say.
There's something about this film for sure that touches nerves deeper than we can talk about. There's something serious going on here. It's all around the world. It's in hundreds of languages. It keeps lurking around behind us. It never goes away. It's probably shown somewhere in the world every 20 minutes.
Maybe that's an
Okay,
exaggeration.
maybe that's an exaggeration.
It's like 15.
It seems like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So there's something about it that touches us. So I think about what that could be, and not to overanalyze the point, but we live on a very small, shrinking kind of planet that's maybe growing hotter, and we have to learn, like people in a lifeboat, to get along with each other somehow. And like people in a farmhouse surrounded by zombies, if we don't learn to get along with each other, we're going to get killed. So I think there's something in this movie that touches that.
Preach, Rev.
Just, if you get any ideas, come and talk to me tomorrow. I'll be listening.
I wish I had a highfalutin answer to that question. How does it feel to be that kind of part of history? To be honest with you, for me, it's surreal. My involvement with Night of the Living Dead has changed my life, as it has, I think, everybody who's been connected with it.
Most of you in the room.
But in the final analysis, when I wake up in the morning and my wife says clean the litter boxes, I have to go clean the litter boxes. So, surreal on one hand. Well, it's actually cleaning litter boxes is kind of a surreal experience as well. So I guess my life is surreal.
Well, it changed our lives. It started our careers in a big way, in the way that we wanted. We were able to move forward and make more films and write more books and all that stuff. But more than that, it also started the careers of a whole lot of filmmakers, because people looked at our example, how we raised a little bit of money from ourselves and from friends and family and so on, and made a film. And when I met Toby Hooper, he wanted to work with me on some things, and he told me that he happened to be in a screening room at WRS Motion Picture Lab here in Pittsburgh while we were looking at the second movie we made called Play with the Angels, eventually released under the title The Affair. Toby never introduced himself. He was there mixing his own film, a very esoteric kind of film that didn't go anywhere, and then he was home in Texas, and his friend told him he ought to see this film called Night of the Living Dead. And he didn't want to go, but they persuaded him, and it changed his life, because he started to think that here I've got this little esoteric film that isn't making any money, and I ought to make something like Night of the Living Dead. And it was Christmas time. He went to a mall when he was shopping for last minute Christmas presents, and the crowd was so thick that he could hardly get through it. And he passed a wall full of chainsaws, and he thought, if I had one of those chainsaws, I could cut my way through this mob. And that was the start of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, and Sam Raimi, look at that same thing. They wanted to make comedies. And then they saw Night of the Living Dead, and here comes the Evil Dead, So many, many filmmakers have been inspired by what we did. And, of course, Russ and I taught a filmmaking program for 7 years here in Pennsylvania, and so, it's been very gratifying to teach young people and also to hear from filmmakers, famous and not so famous, that we inspired them and started their careers. So that part is very gratifying. Other than that, what I think about most of the time is what I'm going to do now, what I'm going to write next, and how I'm going to raise money for my next film, and all of that kind of stuff. And I think we're all about that. You can't look back and rest on your laurels and think you're great because you did something that gets people's attention. You have to move on and try to do something really good the next time.
Which Mr. Russo has a new film coming out, when, the 20th? What's the date?
November
November
16th at
16th.
the Oaks Theater. We're gonna have a Pittsburgh premiere of My Uncle John is a Zombie, and it's pretty damn funny. It's coming out on November 16th is at the Oaks Theater. Here is going to be the premiere, and then it's going to go into the American Film Market, and we're getting a lot of offers from theaters and theater chains, so it's going to move around after that. And that's as much as we know right now, and the next moves will be determined largely at the American Film Market in the first week in November. So it'll be heavily advertised. It is on our websites. Gary Vincent's one of the producers over here and publishes some of my books too. And he plays a key role in the movie, so.
Play the nephew, and my Uncle John's his own.
Well, I don't want to talk about Uncle John too much because we're here from Night of the Living Dead, so. Any other questions?
Way in the
Somebody
back.
just stand up.
Way in the back.
There, way in the back. There you are. Shout it out.
Of night, what is your favorite memory of the whole process, of any portion of it?
Getting it finished.
Yeah, actually, we all share that. Is through against all odds, having that fortitude to keep plugging and actually make it. That's half of the problem with filmmakers. They have great ideas. They even do GoFundMes and they raise money, and then they get to the actual production of it, and it's like, oh wait, this is a lot harder than I thought that it was going to be, because I talked to a class at Pitt one time, and sometimes I get a little bit too honest about my delivery, but I'm talking to film students, and the truth of it is, it came out of my mouth almost involuntarily. They were about a group of these film students from Pitt, or writing students from Pitt, were about to go off that next weekend and shoot a film, and I said, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to be very good, because whose first films are good? And that's the other misconception. We worked our butts off to learn our craft and to do it, and we did it professionally in the commercial industry. And, we were quite prepared to do Night of the Living Dead. But there was still, we had never done it before. It had never been done before, the group of independents. But we could have never done it if we didn't have that knowledge that we had gained over probably about 4 years of working together or more. And I'm talking about working. We worked 14, 18, 2 days straight kind of thing. So to see it get done, Russ is right. That's really the thrill. I also wanted to say that I'm always resentful of you guys, because I never got to see the film as a fan. We never got to see it the way you see it. You just come in, plop your butts down in chairs, and you get to like it or not like it. We never got that opportunity because we knew every stinking frame of it. We knew all of the backstory, all of the intrigue and everything else. So, us being, for me, and I'm sure it's the same for all these guys, us being here, seeing you being here, and deciding that you're going to come from California and you're going to come from all parts across the country to this particular event is pretty damn cool.
Yep.
I can assure you that I was very glad when the shooting was done, and no one was hurt in the making of this film.
Got a little ruffled edges, but
Little ruffled edges. I myself am shot through the heart 3 times, and we were experimenting with it. George said that they got the plans out of the back of a horror comic book for how to make squids explode and look like blood. And I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "You are going to be the first guy we test this on, because you won't sue us if we happen to blow you up." So I was particularly glad that night that we finally ended. I only got knocked down once by the squids, but I think it's amazing that it was done, I won't say crudely, but no frills, no glory, no on-set doctors or nurses, none of that stuff. And we sure hurt people in other films. I can assure you, I worked on many.
Right.
Night Riders, God. But Night of the Living Dead seemed to have its own energy. I want to say that too. Once this happens often, a lot of films you work on, when they get rolling, you can't stop them. You know, you all of a sudden aren't as essential as you thought. You know that film's going to march on to being completed. And Night of the Living Dead had that kind of energy and overcame all of us, our frailties and weaknesses, and still does to this day. It has it.
Right. What time do you have there?
I have 20 after.
Okay, we can do about 2 more questions.
Well, this is very short.
You gotta stand up and yell it out.
Okay.
Sorry we don't have
That's okay.
microphones for you.
This is very short, but I love the anecdotal stuff you guys talk about. I don't know if there is one, but if there isn't one, can somebody write a book that has all this in it so that we can have it?
There is. Kind of has to some degree.
Yeah, I have a complete Night of the Living Dead film book, and my complete Night of the Living Dead film book tells a lot of it. There's even a chapter that goes into all the continuity blunders and odd little things that happened during the making of the film. And then recently I wrote an autobiography centering around Night of the Living Dead and the things that happened afterwards and what actually broke our company up and all that kind of stuff. So you might be, you can get that on Amazon.
Okay,
What's the name of that book?
Well, my autobiography is called My Life with the Living Dead. And I start out saying about Night of the Living Dead has permeated my life, and it really has, because it's gone on and on and on and on for all these 50 years, and through all the legal complications and the piracies and the thievery and all the pleasant things too, with all people like you. And you know, it's just, there's hardly a week goes by that I'm not doing something concerning Night of the Living Dead. And same with Russ and Gary now, and that's just how it is. You walk into a place and all of a sudden you get recognized by some guy that's doing nothing but renting you a car. You know, I mean, that kind of thing happens all the time. Or one day I was sitting in an American Legion in my old hometown, and this young guy kept looking at me, and I didn't think he wanted to date me. But I figured right away he's a fan, right? And he was with his girlfriend. I happen to know his girlfriend because she was the daughter of a friend of mine, but I didn't know him. The next thing you know, the barmaid comes over and puts 8 drink chips on in front of me. So that young gentleman wants to buy you a drink for every Return of the Living Dead sequel that he's seen. So I got 8 drinks piled in front of me, just from being in a bar, that's all. So strange things like that happen.
Tim, you
I know that you were talking about how
louder.
I know you were talking about how Night of the Living Dead inspired other filmmakers. Was there any films prior to Night that inspired you guys?
Wow.
Lots of them.
That's a big question. As a filmmaker, it still happens to today. Watching what other people are doing, watching how they are approaching topics, smooth topics, rough topics. It's kind of a never-ending experience. Myself, I am a great fan of many of Alfred Hitchcock's films, of John Ford films as an American director. You just have to appreciate the work that other people are doing and try to learn something from them.
One, okay, no, you, yeah.
Well, there were two films that, you know, our whole goal in making this Night of the Living Dead, and I think this is key to any kind of creative work, that we had the horror fans in mind. You know, we went to see a lot of terrible horror films that Hollywood's cranking out according to the same formula over and over and over again. I always say, you know, Attack of the Giant Grasshopper, Attack of the Giant Ant, Attack of the Giant Caterpillar, and all that. And, you know, the town drunk would see something, but nobody believed him. Then the town drunk would get killed. Then the scientist would say, he'd have something in a test tube, and oh, this looks like caterpillar slime. God damn, it is caterpillar slime. We must be dealing with a giant caterpillar. And so the National Guard would come in with flamethrowers and tanks and destroy it at the end. And over and over again, same plot. So we wanted, and what we talked about was giving horror fans their money's worth for a change. And the two of the films that I had in mind were Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original one, because I saw that movie Cold and it knocked me out. And I would always say, if we could make a film that has people coming out of the show with those same stunned looks on their faces, then we'd really have something. And the other one, it kind of, the Forbidden Planet, had, and because it was science fiction, but it had monsters from the id. And that whole thing were those monsters from the id, kind of electrical-like, as I remember them. But it was so shocking, and so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to stay true to our plot and make the characters behave like real people would if they were in that situation. So that's the lesson, is to have the audience in mind always, and not just how you can bilk them out of their money or give them something glossy and send them away disappointed. You know, no, we wanted people to really appreciate this film and feel like they got their money's worth. I guess you people feel that way.
I just want to add one comment to that. That's the advantage of self-financing. Is it rough to pull the money out of your own pocket to do these projects? But the long and the short of it is, because we did it that way, we had no one looking over our shoulder saying, you know, well, the committee doesn't think that that's exactly the way we didn't have to tolerate any of that foolishness. Night of the Living Dead is the film that we wanted to make, period.
I think a brief, you know, they named the films. One of the things I think is that we weren't guilty of was self-indulgence, and so many directors and filmmakers just think that their ideas are the only ideas to be, and they never really. They're sort of talking to their peers, they're talking to others, not talking to the audience like you. And I agree with Jack. That was our mission, is to talk to you people like we would talk to you. And I think Night accomplished that very well.
Who wants to see? Oh, sorry. Richard's got something to add.
And then we got to go.
Just a few thoughts. One of the films, we came out into an era, the mid-60s were great films. Graduate, Go Ahead Luke, a lot of good films. So that was sort of in our heads, quality films like that. But also a film called Touch of Evil, Orson Welles film. George loved that film. I think I saw it with him 3 or 4 times. George saw films over and over and over, as you all know. But I also want to point out that the Vietnam War was playing on television every night. And there was also something called the Zapruder film, which was the assassination of John Kennedy. We all saw that over and over, shot through the head stuff. Martin Luther King was assassinated, Kennedy was assassinated. So, and this was all on TV. So that TV of that era certainly had an effect on us. And it's reflected in the film. When I see it, the fires and the gunfires and the shot through the head. So it's a film that dripped from its times. I think we could say that.
That's it. Now you gotta sit and watch the damn thing.
Thank you.
Again, it's
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you. If you come to Evans City tomorrow and Sunday, you will not. A couple people over here, I think, came off the street, they didn't know what the hell they were getting into here. Yeah, come to Evans City. You just keep sucking this up. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much.